Hello, this is Sid and Millie Chats. I'm Sid,
I'm Millie.
and we invite you to be a fly on our wall. Um, so we'll be doing another week recap of Manchester United's games.
Yep.
Who did we play in the midweek game in the Europa League, Millie?
So the Europa League, we played FCSB. They're a team from Romania.
Okay,
So yeah, that's who United played midweek in the Europa League.
nice. And then we just finished up watching the Manchester United versus Crystal Palace game in the Premier League.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll kind of do like little recap of both games.
Yeah.
So do we want to start with that midweek game against FCSB?
For sure. Yeah, and I think for that game, I think pretty general, easy game to cover. A team from Romania, pretty obvious that Man United should win that game. But it was a very important game because it secured a spot into the final 16 for in the Europa League for Manchester United. So obviously that's important. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
And so some of the key takeaways from that game were we got to see Kobe Mainoo play in a little bit of a higher position in the 10 position. So rather than having him in more of a traditional midfield position, he was more in like one of those attacking roles that we normally would see like Bruno in or something like that.
He played well there too.
Yeah, he played really well there. So we saw him get a goal, get an assist, and he really was the star man in the midweek game. So it was really all about Kobe Mainoo. So it was phenomenal to see how well he was able to play in a new role and really, show how good of a midfielder he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so as far as the game goes, I mean, United had a lot of possession. I think we all kind of wanted maybe to see a little bit of a goal fest. I think that's kind of always the expectation when you're playing a team from a country outside of like the top 5 leagues in Europe. But at the end of the day, United had a job to get done and they got it done midweek. So we have to at least give them credit for that.
Yeah, at least celebrate that win.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So midweek game against FCSB, good win. Mainoo is the star of the show. 2-0 win as it should have been. And yeah, United are into the next round of the Europa League and round of 16, and we can be excited about that.
Yeah.
At least some things are going right in Europe.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess that brings us into the game from today in the Premier League against Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
What was that end score, Millie? Kind of what were your initial takeaways from that game?
Yeah, well, end score was 2-0.
Okay.
So United lost 2-0 at Old Trafford. I think the first 15 minutes of the game were fantastic. I mean, again, I think Ruben took an interesting take on Kobe Mainoo's success from midweek playing in the 10 position. So then we went and moved him even higher up the field and put him as the false 9. So traditionally where we would see Højlund or Xerxes playing. So instead we saw Mainoo slotted into that spot today. And for the first 15 minutes of the game, it was working. United were on the attack, kind of locked Crystal Palace back, and Mainoo was, in and amongst some, I guess, half chances that we created.
Yeah, I mean, when the game first started, one of your first comments to me was about how high they were this time.
Yeah, exactly. Like the line of pressure was just so much higher up the field, and the line of like engagement was higher up the field. And it looked like a very organized block again for at least the first 15 minutes. And then after that, things just really took a turn. I mean, Crystal Palace kind of figured out how they were going to like manage our like floating player. And I mean, the rest of the first half was basically a pretty simple football match for them. We had majority of the possession, which is great, but I mean, we had no shots on target.
Yeah, like what are you doing with the possession?
Right, and I feel like here we are again, a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks later, saying we're not putting shots on target. We're not creating dangerous opportunities.
Right.
You can look and say 17 shots in this game against Crystal Palace and look at that and be like, oh, well, surely we should have scored a bunch of times in that. But it's like, if you deep the statistics a little bit, like with only 2 shots on target, we only forced the keeper to make a save twice, and then we hit the post once, right? So it's like we aren't actually creating a ton of opportunities,
right?
Which is kind of sad to see because, again, I mean, no disrespect to Crystal Palace, they've now jumped us on the Premier League table in 12th place, but I mean, these are games that United should be, I mean, sorting out.
Yeah.
I don't think Crystal Palace is like a team that should be playing us off the park. Not saying that they did, but it looked like a pretty even football match.
Yeah, and I feel like another one of the things that you had mentioned when the game was going on was how like hesitant everyone was being with their like actual attacking opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many like points in the game, and that's such a good point that you bring up, but there were so many points in the game where like we're at the edge of the 18 or we're at the corner of the 18 and we're cutting the ball back, we're playing it safe, we're going back, playing our defensive midfielder or playing to our center backs. And it seems like nobody really has the confidence to step up and be like, I'm going to take the shot.
Right.
I'm going to finish this opportunity. I'm going to make sure we have a attacking action out of this play. And so, yeah, I guess like I'm wondering if maybe there is a little bit of like confidence lacking. Maybe there is like with all of the movement around like players as well. You know, Kobe Mainoo's never played as a 9 before, a false 9.
Yeah, so that you can't expect him to be perfect the first time he does it.
Right, definitely not. I mean, I would have loved to see him play in the 10 again, right? Like he just did so well there during midweek. It would have been great to see him play in that attacking mid role. Again, maybe even alongside Bruno.
Right.
Would have been great to see. But yeah, I don't know. We've thrown another idea, I guess, at the wall, and we don't have anything to show for it. I mean, at Old Trafford, I mean, you could hear it. I mean, we're watching the game on TV, but you can hear it after 25, 30 minutes of the game. The fans, the volume of Old Trafford,
quiet.
It was shrinking. You know, the unveiling of the new players, you know, in the past, I mean, not to compare it to Varane's unveiling, but you know, because we've had other like historic ones in the past, but you know, when Varane was unveiled at Old Trafford, you know, he walked out when the stadium was filled right before kickoff, holding his jersey, walking around, like, you know, it was like
a big moment.
It was like a massive moment. And then, you know, United obviously came out, dominated the game, won the game as well. So there was a certain atmosphere, a certain air about it. Versus like what they did today. They brought the guys on, you know, maybe during warm-ups before the crowd was fully filled in. Okay. You know, they got their pictures and stuff, but it didn't feel as like a monumental thing.
Yeah.
And I guess that's neither here nor there. That doesn't really matter a ton in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, but it's like disappointing to see that they're not like giving them a big moment.
Yeah, for sure. And it also, I don't know, that same type of energy just kind of felt like what United played with in the game. It felt like Crystal Palace outworked United. They were faster the second balls. They wanted to win more. Yeah. Their attackers wanted to score more. That's what it felt like during the game. And I think, you know, you see that with the result. And I feel like when you're playing at Old Trafford, when United is playing at Old Trafford, there should be a little bit more like pride in that performance.
Definitely.
And yeah, I don't think that the calculations that were worked out pre-match, they didn't work out.
Yeah,
I don't think that was the right risk to take in an important game for United. All of these Premier League games are massively important. We don't at this point in the season, we don't have time to be risking things in these games and losing any more points. I mean, we're sliding towards relegation. At the end of the day, we're in 13th place in the Premier League.
And what's like the relegation?
So the relegation is like the bottom 3. So like 20th, 19th, 18th.
Okay.
But like the points that separate those teams, it's not a ton of points. Yeah. So it's like obviously Manchester United, that's not something that United should ever be kind of teetering with at any point. And so again, it's great to get results in Europe when we're playing lesser competition, but when we're playing in the Premier League, these are the games that are the most important to get points from. It's massive at this point. I mean, we can't just write off the Premier League.
Yeah, no, definitely not. You gotta actually like go to play to win.
Yeah, I mean, I think top half of the table should still be. I mean, it's sad to be saying.
I know.
It's so sad to be saying that, but top half of the table should be at least the aim of this squad, and so we should be taking care of some of these games. And I mean, you compare the amount of injuries we had last season. This season, we don't have as many injuries plaguing us. I mean, Shaw has been out for, I mean, at this point, centuries. I hope we see Shaw play again. And obviously, we have to wish a speedy recovery to Martinez. Because that looked like an awful injury. And
you could tell he was in a lot of pain.
I mean, for a player like that to be literally into, it was something serious. So yeah, all the best in his recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. Speedy recovery to Martinez.
Yeah, never great to see that. But at the end of the day, as a squad and whole, we've not had as many injuries as we did in the previous season with Ten Hag. And so there isn't really those reasons like, hey, key players are missing, or
like, there's no excuses.
Yeah, so I don't know. We're kind of wondering where the performances are, where the full 90 minutes of football will be. Because, the possession is fine, but the possession isn't getting us the wins. It's fine to have more of the ball if that is the goal of this brand of football that Ruben wants to create. But at the end of the day, if we're going to have the ball, we've got to finish, we've got to create, we've got to still be a goal-scoring footballing side.
100%.
And right now, United are lacking goals and we're leaking goals, which is not a good combination. In the Premier League, I mean, our goal difference right now, I don't even want to look at it. I mean, I've been trying not to look at the table, trying not to focus in on those things.
Negatives.
Right. But, every week I feel like, you're looking forward to watching these games.
I know. And then you just kind of left like deflated almost.
Yeah. Left like really deflated. And, Crystal Palace also played with a 3-back system. So we know that it can work for other teams. It's obviously not something that Sir Alex ever did, but, maybe this can be a new style of football that Ruben can find success with at Manchester United, which is all we can hope at this point. We have to hope these new signings that just came in, they're young players also who have not played in the Premier League. So we have to, give them great, like that's part of the issue. Like we can't be putting so much pressure on some of these young players
to be perfect and like outperform the players that have been there for years.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like we look at today's game, like Maguire actually had like a phenomenal game today, was such a key man, won so many important tackles, so many important headers that the guy won today. But even with a performance like that, we still had Lenny Yoro, who's still a young player, and he also had a decent game. But we tried the offsides trap late on in the game, which didn't work against Crystal Palace, which was the second goal, right? So we have to also expect that when we bring in these younger guys from other leagues and from other youth systems,
you should give them grace,
right? I mean, we're not going to be a team that's going to these guys are going to magically pop into the system and now we're going to be a night and day difference. We still have to start making instrumental strides to increase the way that we're playing and not have that fully reliant on new transfers. We're still not defending set pieces properly. We gave up another set piece goal today. Another set piece.
Wow. Yeah. Just different game. Same issues.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I think definitely you can see that lack of confidence kind of leaking into the team in certain instances. So we just have to hope that some of the leadership in the squad, the Bruno Fernandes, the Eriksen, the Maguire, hopefully they can kind of keep everybody confident, keep them going. You kind of wish that we had an older attacking player that has scored a lot of goals in the Premier League and has the experience of making it through hard times with Man United. You almost wish you had someone like that in the locker room who could step up and maybe bear some of the responsibility that we've now forced onto Ahmad, Garnacho, and Højlund and Xerxes, who are all under 22 years old.
Yeah.
So these now 4 very young players are bearing the responsibility of Manchester United's attack.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight, and they will now be the targets of, you know, those sorts of negative people when, as United, don't perform properly.
Right.
But again, when you have like an older, experienced player who could have potentially came in, been a sub, or came in and kind of helped those guys along, it could have potentially
made a big difference.
But you know, the manager has decided not to rely on that experience, not to rely on a player who's in the all-time goal scoring list at Manchester United. So instead of that, we've now loaned him out to another Premier League team who's in the top of the Premier League and is playing Champions League football. So let's just hope that our very young group will be able to, you know, lean in on each other despite the rough results, and lean in on the system. And we just have to keep hoping for a better day.
I know. Gosh.
Because I don't know. I guess Ruben was right. You know, he said we were going to have to struggle. So here we are, struggling.
Not what we want someone to be right about.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. We'll have to just keep hoping that the next Premier League game looks better.
Yeah, just fingers crossed for the future.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I mean, in the first half of a game against Crystal Palace at Old Trafford, United did not manage a shot on target once again, and ended the game with 3 shots on target.
Was it 3?
Was it 3? No, you're right. 2. Sorry, 2 shots on target. The commentator gave us the free shot on target
in the first half,
which was that deflection.
Right.
So the commentator gave us a stat that the Premier League app did not
agree with.
So 2 shots on target in 90 minutes of football. Against a team from Romania, we were able to get some more shots on target. But against actual competition, this is where it matters. This is where United has to show up and has to play big in these games. And I think it started with the way the team was set up today. They were not set up for success.
Yeah.
And I think coming off of a strong performance midweek, I would have probably played some of the players in the same position they played midweek coming off the strong performance.
Yeah. Use that momentum.
Yeah. But anyway, no need to dwell on that. We'll just try to move forward. It was just, you know, another disappointing day. So, that's really all. Let's just hope that next week we can have some more exciting things to talk about.
Yes.
You know, but Maguire did have a good game today, so he definitely deserves
some kudos for
that, because amongst the group, he was the reliable guy back there. So kudos to him. Garte also had some good tackles, and then, you know, obviously Martinez, we just want him to get better as fast as possible.
Facts.
So
yeah, those were our thoughts on the last 2 games for Manchester United
against FCSB in the Europa League, and against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. In the Europa League, we saw some positivity. We're advancing to the round of 16. We can be happy about that.
Yes.
In the Premier League, not so much. We slid the other direction.
Right.
We moved down from 12th place to 13th place, as Crystal Palace obviously leaped above us with their win today. And yeah, hopefully next week will be better. But it wasn't there today, and it was wrong from the lineup, and yeah, that's basically it. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
We'll miss you, Rashford. You didn't deserve this, mate.
Thanks for watching.